Rebel Devs Podcast, a show that challenges conventional thinking in the tech industry. Each episode features conversations with solutionists who have taken unconventional approaches to problem solving, pushing the boundaries of what's possible in their respective fields. Join the devolution.
Hey, Rebel Devs listeners. My name is Tom May, one of your hosts for this chaotic little podcast we have. As always, my partner in crime, Jonah May. Jonah May, what's going on today?
It's cold and rainy here. That's what's going on.
Cold and rainy in Texas.
At least I'm avoiding the tornadoes that Northeast is getting.
Well, hopefully you'll stay safe in there. If we see your camera feed go off, hopefully it's not spinning as it does by any means.
Yeah.
That would just be absolutely weird. Today we're going to talk a little bit about Veeam community, and it's a common question that Jonah and I get as Vanguards and being involved with the Hackathon and into the Veeam ecosystem. Often people will ask, well, how do you become a Vanguard? What is a Vanguard? We see these different badges. And so we've brought on two experts today in this world. We have Maddie and Safiya from Veeam. So I'm going to I'll go with Maddie first. Maddie, welcome. Tell us about you and your journey here with Veeam.
Hello, Tom, and hello, Jonah. First of all, thank you for having me to your podcast. It's great to be here. I think we tried it a few times until we managed to record this. So great to finally be able to do it. To your point, Jonah, the weather is not better in here. It's been moody for days. So yeah, yay to that. A few things about myself. I am Adelina Cristil, based in Bucharest, in Romania, far away from all of you guys, you all in the US. I've been working for Veeam for about 3 years now. I'm in the product strategy team, and I'm working mainly on the community operations and strategy, dealing with Community Hub and the Veeam User Groups, and of course the Veeam 100 program that we are going to talk about today. So yeah, that would be in few words.
There we go. Very cool. And we love the community program. Jonah's been in it a little bit longer than me, but I don't know. It's been an amazing journey. I never really put much value in it before, honestly, until I became a member, just because community was weird as I was coming up through IT. We avoided such things unless we were in IRC chat channels and whatnot, but clearly things have grown over the years and I'm a dinosaur. But we do have another person here too. Safiya, good morning or afternoon or whatever time everybody's listening.
Yeah, good morning from here. I'm in Columbus, Ohio. Hello, everyone. My name is Sophia. My title is Community Analyst. I've been with Veeam for a little under 2.5 years now. Like Maddie and Nicola, who's also on the team, working with all things Veeam community operations, our community hub, our Veeam 100 program, Veeam User Groups, which take up a lot of my time personally. So yeah, looking forward to getting into it today.
No, that's absolutely awesome. And so I would say let's start with the Vanguard program because I'm a little biased and think it's the best, but maybe you have different opinions. We'll leave the best for last, but why don't we tee off a little bit with how about the Veeam Legends? Tell us about that. I'm going to throw it to both of you all.
Yeah, sure. So Veeam Legends, actually, yeah, you are biased, but I think the order was correct in the sense that Veeam Vanguard was the first program, advocacy program that's, the product strategy started at Veeam. So you are not wrong with that. But if you want, we can start with the Legends. Legends is really in the middle, if you think about, because we started the program in 2020, actually beginning of 2021, because the community hub was started at the end of 2020. So we came up with this idea of having a hub, a Veeam community hub platform where our users, our Veeam top technical experts and Veeam employees and all Veeam users come together and discuss Veeam products and, just can get ask questions, and they can blog about like different topics, and they can come up with cool projects and so on and so forth, trying to bring everyone together and centralize a little bit things when it comes to Veeam community. So we thought, because we saw like, hey, there are a lot of Veeam fans that are super active on our community platforms, because we also consider R&D a community platform, right? The R&D forum. So we thought, why don't we just also start another program on top of the Vanguards program and call it Legends, and that's going to be for the people that are contributing and helping the community via community properties. So this is how we came up with the Legends program. So Legends program is part of the bigger program, the Veeam 100, together with Vanguards and MVPs that we are going to talk about later on. And as I said, they are just people that are like top technical experts that are part of the Veeam environment, meaning partners or customers that are contributing at the community hub and R&D forums, and they are helping the rest of the community, and we are recognizing them via getting them in the Legends program. There are 2 annual intakes. One is in February, the other one is in August. So in these 6 months between the intakes, they gather points, and based on that points, but not only points, because obviously you can get points by liking or just commenting with a thank you, or I don't know, something that is great as engagement, but it doesn't necessarily bring value to the community. So we are also looking in the value of the content and the value of the engagement. So that's about Veeam Legends in few words.
I like the Legends, especially some of the content up there with between the VMCE study halls and different things that you can go up there and take a look that, I wouldn't really think of when I think of the Veeam forums. It kind of goes back to the days of posting things of problems and seeing some of the R&D people up there, some of top answer people. So now that the legend badges are there, it's been nice to see it go from, hey, this person wrote a lot, to, hey, this person's really a content creator up there. I think that's been a nice pivot in the last year or so. Safiya, with Veeam Legends, what's your take on it all? I know that Maddie gave us a real deep dive there, which is
She
awesome,
definitely did.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can't probably describe it more. I would say, the Legends, like you mentioned, it's kind of started this smaller group, these people who were kind of just chatting around the hub, but it became such a bigger program now where some of these people are now becoming Vanguards, which we'll touch on later, full on blown bloggers, YouTubers, talking about like a Jeff Burke type podcasters. So it's become such a big thing in only, 4 years now, which is incredible, has been incredible to see the transition, just reading back on how the program has grown since.
It is crazy that you're right about everybody growing in all of their roles and becoming in. I mean, a little bit of my Vanguard background. I didn't even know what a Vanguard was going back to VeeamON probably 10 years ago. It was just this kind of weird group that you heard about, but you didn't know. It was like, what are these people? And somebody said to me one time, you should be one of those. And I was like, whatever. And no idea what it was. Like, I just need to do my job and whatnot, and that's cute. And I miss not getting involved in earlier and coming into the program later. Jonah, you've been a little bit longer and touched a couple areas into the community. What's your experience with the Legends? Because you're up on those forums a bit more than I am, I'll admit.
Yeah. Not quite active enough there to also, be a legend and a vanguard like a handful of people, but it's been, nice to see the community grow. I think I came in right around or right before the Legends were started. Came into the Vanguard program just on the tail end of the pandemic. Missed my first couple VeeamONs because they were virtual only because of the pandemic, and then came into the Vanguards, I think, right around the time they did the first in-person summit after the pandemic again. And it's been really nice and very fun having extra people in the group, bringing in the Veeam MVPs and the Legends, and even just kind of getting some perspectives outside of what you see in the Vanguards, because not everyone in the Vanguard program works for a Veeam partner or a service provider, but I think a good number of us do. And I think it's almost a opposite proportion for the Legends, where there's a couple of people who work for Veeam partners, but it's a lot more community-oriented people or end users from the Veeam perspective.
No, I think that's very true. As we look at it, you're right. I think a lot of the Vanguards that I've known have always worked very tightly with Veeam, and those Legends coming up. But I'm going to be a little bit more honest here, and maybe the Vanguards will get mad at me. I think the Legends have to work harder sometimes. I mean, those guys are cranking out content so much just to recertify twice a year. So, don't change our research on our Vanguards. We're definitely not asking that. I mean, us cool podcasters and bloggers, we have to put out some stuff too, but I'll tell you, I look at some of those names you see up in the Legends, Jeff Burke, Chris Childerhouse, Shane. Those guys are just machines when it comes to content. I really do not understand how they function in their jobs sometimes, because I don't think they sleep. I'm thoroughly convinced they must caffeinate up, work all day, write all night, post all night, and just keep going about it. And I'm excited when I put a forum post up. I'm like, look, I put something up, and maybe one of those guys will see it, and I get so excited. So it's an awesome program, that's for sure.
Yeah, to your point, Tom, I think you are actually right. And we actually had a bunch of conversations around that. And yes, because basically you have to produce, a lot of content to get your points, but it also has to be valuable in order, to be able to make it to the next intake. So I do believe, while the Vanguards, it's just like 1 year intake. You apply in December, January, and then you can sleep the whole year. I mean saying that. I know our Vanguards are not sleeping throughout the year. They are producing content. They are doing a lot of amazing things. But I do think it's more difficult to keep your Legend status than to keep your Vanguard status. Um, and that's why I feel like so many times, a Legend would be like, okay, but I'm gonna apply now for a Vanguard, because it's just, I'm gonna be 1 year a Vanguard rather than have to work for another 6 months to be back in the Legends program. So yeah, that's true. I have to
They're
agree.
all, yeah, and they're also answering questions to add on to just the content creation. I mean, there will be a question posted, and 5 minutes later, like you mentioned, the Shanes will already have an answer for them, and it's crazy. Like, I don't know what kind of machine they have to always just be consistently on the hub while also working their 9 to 5. I still question how they get to the content so quickly, but yeah, it's definitely a lot of effort to be intaked into the Legend program, and we appreciate all of them, what they do. We get, because a lot of it is on Veeam properties, like we mentioned, the hub, the R&D forums. For the hub, we use this platform called Gainsight, and every year they give us some statistics on what has Veeam done with their community, and majority of our questions are answered by non-employees that are using the hub. It's by mostly the Legends who are helping these people, basically being a support desk in itself. So definitely a valuable resource that does not go underappreciated.
I think the power in the Legends also is, and I'll kind of explain the Veeam support experience. And I think some of the listeners have been through this before. Kind of the cycle of Veeam support tickets looks something along the lines of, open ticket, pull some logs. If you're smart enough to pull the logs, always pull the logs and just put them in there because they're going to ask you anyway. So just do it. You go up there and then you kind of get somebody jumping into a support case that is very just targeted, if you will. You'll sometimes get these answers. They're like, well, this is happening. Go ahead and take an active full. And if you're not experienced with Veeam, you'll go ahead and click it and you think it'll work, but depending on your configurations, when you're moving to cloud providers, S3, wherever, it's kind of this active full touches everywhere that the sun touches, and it has massive ripples. When you're into those forums, interestingly enough, and you get some of these legends, they're coming from the field, some being employees, some end users out there, and they've gone through these things. And so they have a little bit more of a battle story, if you will. They're tried, they're true. They're like, well, wait, I remember that one time that they told me I better get out there and put up a active full, and it didn't solve the problem, or it did, but then we had 6 weeks of syncing up data. When you get into these names up there, I'm always curious, and I always click in to see who they are and what they've been answering to see, is this a path that I want to follow? And for the most part, it really is. And you'll get that greater insight. And it's even more powerful, I think, is when you get one legend answering and then another person is kind of, it's almost like the old doctor room scenario in the 1950s TV show where it's like doctor concurring with doctor. And it's just like, yes, you should do this. And then the next person jumps in and they're, hey, you should do this. I agree. I've seen this. And you just get that whole conversation almost in real time around it. I would say those guys that are Veeam partners, like even myself, the stronger Veeam partners, I think, value the community programs because they know what we get out of it, but it also sharpens us as employees as well and the credibility of our brands around Veeam. When it comes to regular end users, I'm always surprised that their employers do give them the ability to focus in so much, because I always wonder, do they show value in there? And that's a question that I'll often get from people is, how can you get my employer to support me doing this more? So, Jonah, you've been in this quite a bit. You've worked for multiple employers. You've had Vanguard across all of them. What values do these programs bring to the employers of the world?
I mean, a big one is, we get exclusive meetings with some of the product management team and in some cases early access to betas. So especially, being on the sales engineering and product architecture teams at my company, it's very beneficial for us because I play around in those bits and I can almost begin to start formulating some go-to-market strategies as we see new features coming up in a version 13 or 14 or whatever.
No, that's definitely helpful. I know myself from an engineering side, when we start seeing the landscape of the product, it's not that we can get out there and say, secret sauce, guess what? Veeam is going to offer teleportation in Veeam 13. So, don't worry about SD-WAN anymore. But as we start seeing changes to the data, and I think as we speak to some of the product teams, we see some of the architecture behind it, and you understand, hey, we're going to move from this type of database to this database. And then as you're starting to architect solutions, you kind of start laying those framework into your existing design methodologies, knowing that the future could hold new things. We may not know where a product exactly goes, but we can see different movements. One of my experiences with this, I think, was around Office 365, M365, whatever flavor it was called back in the day. We were on jet databases. We were attaching storage. We were having jam ups over the course of trying to bring on large customers. Being in the Vanguard programs, we were able to speak to some of these product development teams, get real-time feedback, and it helped Veeam get past we were labbing this somewhere to here was a service provider bringing on big groups, and we were able to extend out. Equally so, as we watched pivots on the databases, we saw, Jet to SQL, we saw on-prem to S3. And then I remember S3 was probably the first thing around the Vanguard program that I dealt with that really made a difference, where I didn't know where Veeam was going with it. But as we talked more and more in the community, we learned it had more capabilities around it. And it started thinking about things like, people will laugh at me. God's honest truth, when I'm designing out customers today, I never even write to repositories anymore. I'm always, every repository is automatically in a sober, even if it's a one-to-one, knowing that there's additional features in those sobers, which I may never turn on. But I remember there was a time where I actually had to convert a regular repository to a sober, write a script, do all these crazy things behind it to get some functionality of an offload somewhere. And more things were moving that direction. And it was this kind of battle with the customer. Do we spend the extra time in engineering to over engineer? And coming out of the Vanguard program, I couldn't say at the time, well, did you know that Veeam's secretly doing whatever? But I knew, hey, I've spoken to Veeam people, I've spoken to other experts, peers, and they're doing these things, and there's a lot of benefit. And the cool part is, if there could be something you customer need in the future that doesn't even exist, but my gut tells me it's going to be in this realm. Before the community programs, never in my wildest dreams would I have ever been able to navigate that. And that's kind of a little bit of the community that I like in there. Moving more into the Vanguard, I guess we can kind of shift in. For me, I told everybody at the beginning that I had never really been into the Vanguard program. It was this weird group of people. Well, at the time, the service provider I was working, I was in a CIO role, so still technical, but not as hands-on. At that point, I knew that we really needed to do it, and so started nominating other people to be a part of it. And actually, Jonah, you were the first nominee we had back in the day. And I think in the Vanguard program, we have a unique status that we're the only father-son Vanguards out there, which is a claim to fame. But Jonah was there, 2 years before me, I think? And I remember Jonah would come out of these meetings all fired up and excited to be a part of it. And it was really exciting. But we knew that Jonah was kind of this savant, high level working Veeam guy. He would always find all these interesting things. And then we put up Stephen New for a nomination, and we had our second Vanguard, which was really, really amazing. And that was kind of a little bit exciting for me, was seeing the growth of Jonah and Stephen. When I looked at Jonah, it was a very technical deep dive, Stephen being technical as well. But I knew that, personalities are different. And I watched the shift with Stephen also. So I don't know if you all are aware, but I would say one of the benefits you have to your program is when you fly with like-minded people, those skills rub off on you. And when you walk into some of these Vanguards, these same sorts of folks, when I talked about not sleeping, have you all seen the other designations that these community folks have? Their resumes are amazing. V experts, we have Cisco champions in there.
MVPs,
MVPs,
Microsoft
yeah.
MVPs, yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness, it's absolutely crazy.
You can
So,
tell. Yeah.
Vanguards, can you help kind of break down the difference? What's the difference between Legend? We said content, forums, scoring. These poor guys have a report card, right? I feel so bad. It's like, here's your progress report. Did I make it?
Well,
We do as Vanguards too, but really, what's the shift? Because Vanguard was first, and it's moved a little bit. What would you say the difference with the Vanguard is?
I
Yeah.
think now the programs are getting closer though, and now when we think Legends and Vanguards, because you get a lot of the Vanguards that are also very active at the community hub lately. At the beginning when we started the community hub and started the Legends program, there was a brutal difference. It was like these guys from their Legend program and us, we are Vanguard, the first um, that were in the Veeam advocacy program. So now the programs are really coming together, and since 2022, since I started and I worked with together with Rick, and we thought about it, we were like, okay, how can we bring the worlds together, because this is very important. You can't just work on different islands. So in the past few years, this is really what we try to do, and I think we kind of got there. So now when we think Legends, yes, it is about their activity at Veeam properties like a community hub and R&D forums, but we also, many of them, they also have their own blogs. Many of them, they have some other, podcasts or their own properties where they are active as well. And many times they also go and speak at different events. So, and they are sharing Veeam content on social media, and they are Veeam user group leaders as well. So all this activity is taking into consideration. But we have them as legends because they really like being in, and producing content in the Veeam community platforms. But then when we talk about Vanguard, yes, Vanguards are mostly active on their own properties. If you think about like you right now, right, you have this podcast, so you like to be active, talk about the Veeam, talk about technology, talk about communities on your own property, rather than going to the community hub or R&D forums and produce content in there. So I think that's kind of the main difference, if you ask me, between Legends and Vanguards. I think all Legends and Vanguards are really top technical experts when we talk Veeam products. It's just a matter of preference, really. And it's a matter of, okay, you are less under um, like a microscope. That doesn't sound well, but that's what it is, in the sense that your activity is not on a metric base, on a metric system base, as it is for the legends. But as I said, I do believe that these worlds are coming closer together. So that would be my takeaway when it comes to the two programs, and just like some things that are different, and some things that are very similar.
Yeah, and to add to Maddie's point and kind of what we discussed with the legends on an intake level, where the legends are biannually checked twice a year, the vanguards are annual. So at the end of the year, usually December, Nicola, who runs that program, opens the application form, and the vanguards, as you both know, submit everything you've done throughout the year. But for the vanguards as well, like Maddie mentioned, not everything is under a microscope. We even check things you've done locally, because that was a thing for the program before the legends existed. It's these people who are on their own properties. It was more vague what a vanguard was. It was just these Veeam evangelists in every single way possible. So that also included, what are you doing locally for Veeam? Are you an evangelist? Do people count on you for presentation? So that's also something we take into consideration for the vanguards, if people are interested who listen to this.
And then
Oh no, I think
yeah.
they are. It really is a thing that comes up often. Is once you learn about the program, people get curious, and I'm not
Yeah.
sure that they really know about the different programs. And even when you ask a Vanguard, how did you become a Vanguard? I think everybody's journey is different depending when they came in the program and how we would describe it. Locally, you're right. Jonah and I also represent the Texas Veeam User Group in there. Texas is a big place, about the size of Europe, if you will. And getting around and talking to those folks, that's a lot of what we try to do with the community. So while it's not really, I guess, in our official Vanguard role, in my brain, I should say, I never thought about that. But that's really what we try to architect, is building a community of people in person that get together, know Veeam, talk about Veeam, evangelize it, and support one another in there. So it's interesting to think that Veeam is looking at Vanguards even in the local presence, because I always think of the word influencer when I think about Vanguard. And then I'm like, oh no, do I have an Instagram? Am I like, ka-ching? And I'm like, no, that's not me. Tom's not on Instagram. Well, I guess I'm somewhere on there, but you'd be sadly
Code
disappointed.
Tom, 10% off,
Exactly. Exactly. But that's why we did the podcast, everybody. Jonah and I were kicking around talking about things, even with my company, that marketing was like webinars. And I was like, I cannot go to yet another webinar. It is the same recycled content. It is the let's get more people here. We'll give them a DoorDash gift card and then they'll come in for a virtual lunch and whatever. And I was like, you know what? What if we just ramble nonsense on a Friday morning and we'll release them out? And let's get some big names in there and bring somebody on like Maddie or Safiya and be like, you can talk to us, but you can't literally hit everything you've been in your talking circuits because we know you Veeam folks. They get you on all the coolest places, and sometimes it's kind of that same content because you're working the circuits. And we're always like, give us the secret sauce, give us the little conversations in here. So I think people listening today might get a little bit better understanding of what the Veeam community is and the value here, rather than going to the web pages, which look really nice and they have our glam shots. So yeah, we're up there. We're like, Tame, Jonah, and then we write our little bios, but I think this brings it home a little bit more. And I've enjoyed doing the podcast. And I think in the month of December, we had something like 300 listeners, which was just mind blowing for a bunch of guys dabbling with podcasts. And the community has really, I believe, pushed me to do a little bit more. Is what I like about it is you run in your own little circle and you're in your job and you're really good with Veeam and people come see you. And then you start meeting some other folks and you're just like, holy goodness, look at that person. They are like a genius. You're like, wow, look at what they've architected. And you're just floored. And then they're like, by the way, here's the keys to the kingdom. Let me show you how I did that. And you're like, wait, you're going to show me how you did that? And it's just so amazing in there. And so that Vanguard community has been just instrumental, I believe, for us in that regard.
There is one thing that, yeah, I mean, you hit that point, Sophia hit that point, and really want to talk a little bit about it. There are two type of people. It's people that are always like kind of not running away but being skeptical about community being too good, like when you go there and you talk about the benefits that you get through this program, like Jonah was mentioning earlier, access to betas, access to like product managers, and you even have that Veeam 100 summit. We are not going to go now deep into it, but it's just like basically gathering all these right top technical experts, legends, vanguards, MVPs together, bringing the product managers and the product strategy and some cool important names from Veeam, and discussing technology and giving some sneak peeks and more than sneak peeks sometimes. But we had some of these people in the Legend program. Actually, they were just active because the community hub, the R&D forums was like useful in the sense that they were receiving the answers and that they needed for their work. And because they were so active, they kind of became legends. And when we send an email to let them know that they made it to the program, and these are the benefits, and you're going to be invited to this Veeam 100 summit, and you're going to get that and that, and they were like so skeptical, and they were like, okay, what's going on in here? This is not right, So I feel like there is this type of person in the community that is still active, but like they don't really understand what the community is all about. And if you are part of this group, we are trying to recognize the fact that you are helping and supporting the community. And um, it's cool that I saw that person or those people coming to Veeam 100 summit and being so grateful that they are actually part of it, and they are like, oh my god, I did not understand what community was all about. I did not understand that Veeam is so generous if you are kind of give it forward, and you are supporting the users and you are supporting the rest of the community. Wow. And then you have also those people that are really trying to get into the Vanguard program, less legend because, um, it's a different type of personality, a little bit there, more shy, not necessarily trying to make it. It's more about it comes more organically than the Vanguard because for the Vanguard you have to apply, right? So you have those people that are just applying and they just want to be in the community, and there are people that are really getting what the community is and they are doing a lot of things in that sense to get in the community, or you just have like, hey, I'm just going to apply anyway, let's see if I'm getting the benefits, like even though their activity doesn't scream Vanguard or like that you should be part of this program. So yeah, that's very interesting. You see all these type of personalities, but when the first one happens, I'm very happy, to and it just feels like, hey, that's amazing, it just came so organically. And even though they did not understand the community, now they do, they fully understand, and they kind of want to be part of it because now they see it. So yeah.
Well, I'm going to pitch it over to Sophia a little bit. Let's pivot into the Veeam User Groups. So tell us a little about our Veeam User Groups and what they look like.
Yeah, so Veeam User Groups are these regional local programs that are run by regular Veeam users like yourself, Tom. They can be customers, they can be partners, and they lead these groups locally, virtual events, in-person events, to just spread Veeam knowledge, to have these groups that it can always be a go-to for if you have questions, if you want to connect with people over an issue they've been having, if you just want to hear presentations and network with people who like the same things you do. That's what the Veeam user groups are really for. Currently, we have about a little over 30 user groups off the top of my head that are active globally. We have some spread across the States, Canada, heavily in Europe. We have a lot of user groups based there, starting to build over in Asia, Africa, Latin America. Maddie and I just actually had a call with someone this morning to get a new group started over in Latin America. So yeah, I mean, it's a big project that we've been working on for the past 2 years, kind of starting it over post COVID because they kind of died down a bit. But it's been amazing to see the growth with the user groups. Tom and Jonah being a part of that. Yeah, it's a great program, and I encourage people to get involved locally where they can. If there is a user group in their area, you can always check them out on the hub. But yeah,
Well, you guys don't know this yet, but we have just secured our funding for a summer and a fall road show. So the Texas boys are going to be out, and we are going to on June 3rd be in Austin. 4th, we're going to be in Houston, and 5th, we're going to be in Dallas. So we're going to be road showing there. We're going to be out there with Object First and Wasabi and Cloud IBR and Cyber Fortress and Different Dev as sponsors. And we don't know where we're going to go. We don't know what we're doing specifically, but mark your calendars. We'll start getting some things out there. And I can tell you it's been a really positive experience. I know, Sophia, you came out for our Houston event, and there were some excited folks in there, and some of those folks have networked a little bit more, as I understood. There were a couple people that worked for solution providers that linked in with end users and started working together, which was a nice little testimony. So absolutely. And the Dallas one blew us away. We had some really big names in there. We didn't have a big turnout for our Dallas one, some marketing blips in there, but the groups that came out, I think there were 3 or 4 names, and they were all Fortune 100 companies. And it was shocking to see, and I'm not going to divulge who they were, but they came out and they were like, wait, what's an object first? What's immutable storage? And I'm like, mind blown. I was like, you're in this huge corporation, you have DR, and you're wondering, what is this and how can I do this? And it was amazing because the journey even was like, well, maybe in a budget cycle we can get there. And then I think like a Backblaze was there and they're like, listen, for this amount per terabyte. And they were like, you just see their minds exploding. And Jason Buffington came out and did kind of an Ask Me Anything there. And they were shocked because why is this person from the main stage that we see somewhere else sitting here in a small group of 20 people talking to us? Just mind blowing. I mean, even for me. And Jonah, so you've been around for the iterations of Veeam User Groups. You're a Veeam User Group leader. Where's your take on it? We all get those marketing emails that say, come on out to Top Golf and have a beer on us and be trapped in a room. And then you have a Veeam User Group, which basically I've made the same pitch, I think, is come see us somewhere. We'll trap you in a room with food. But what's your difference between marketing event and user group? I mean, is there a value difference?
I think it's different audiences. I think when you see a marketing event, I attended those once upon a time, and my frustration with it being on the technical side of the world was that it was always much more high level, speaking of here's what's new in Veeam, here's how you can leverage Veeam, almost more to like a executive or a salesperson at that company as a partner, versus on the Veeam user group side. I mean, we go and we can do very technical deep dives, as deep as people want to get. We tend to see the more engineering people come out. So, I remember the Dallas event. I was up on the screen on the projector, basically going through all the steps of deploying a Veeam hardened Linux repository, running the hardening scripts, checking everything, removing the root access. And then on the other side of the room, we had someone from Object First who side-by-side comparison, I'm sitting there and things aren't working. I'm having to do some workarounds. And I'm not even like 20% of the way through the deployment. And he's like, hey, Object First is set up and ready to be added to Veeam to do backups.
No, that's awesome. And then I think we even went a little further, which was cool. We were then able to, in different devs' role as professional services, say, well, yeah, the lower ownership cost seems to be this Linux hardened repository, but how many people on your teams have Linux gurus that are going to go here and patch them and maintain them and support them and monitor them and everything else? And so here's a snapshot of what we would have charged to be in this realm. And now the customer's going, well, I have this hardware I bought for lower cost, but now I have professional services. I have an ongoing engagement. And then here's Object First going, hey, we're just wrapped in a nice little box. We're in a great little package. And you can see some people where we like this Linux route. And I do love the Linux route. I do like Object First, different use cases in there. And we had this organic conversation and then people sharing from the field of where they were. It was just a real free-formed conversation. So at least in the Texas group, we like to kind of come in with a topic, if you will, but really a lot of it turns into a forum discussion. Like we want to work the room and have conversation. Whereas I think when you go to the Top Golf, it's, hi, I'm here today to release the greatest new feature of whatever. And afterwards, let's mingle at the bar and then go play some golf or something. Whereas with us, we were really diving into strange. I think Jason shared stories of like the origins of VSS or something like that. And for the dinosaurs in the room, we were giddy because we're like, we remember those days. It was really
we had quite the
exciting.
patch management and security conversation too, because we were about, I think, like 2 weeks after the CrowdStrike outage, and especially having Fortune 100s in the room, and Cyber Fortress uses CrowdStrike. Several of us were commiserating over the issues the outages caused.
Oh, and I think we should throw a shout out to Nico Stein, one of our Vanguards as well. We had him on the podcast a couple weeks ago, and one of the things that he helped during the CrowdStrike, if you all remember, was he had come up with the whole concept of putting your Veeam agent into the bootloader menu pre-existing with the CrowdStrike, and he wrote some great content on it. But when CrowdStrike hit, I personally wasn't really affected by it, but I remember he was all over the community reminding people, hey, with 3 clicks, you can come back with Veeam. So I think a lot of people were thinking, I have full recoveries, I have to QC my environment. And here's Nico, Vanguard guy, just going next click, quick little content, and boom, that thing is circulating everywhere and saving hours of time, days for people all day long. And just because he had a solution, he put it up. And I think that's the power of the community between these different channels. So Legends, Vanguards, User Group. I think we would be hated horribly, Jonah, if we did not mention the Veeam Hackathon. We've covered it on shows, but just real quick, of course, there's a Veeam Hackathon. Get out there, watch for it. Another one will be coming. But before we close out, I want to turn it back to our experts, of course, thanking you both for being here. But what if we missed about community? I'll throw it over to Maddie first. What did we miss about community? Closing thoughts? What play us out, so to speak.
Well, thank you very much for having me, first of all. Really good conversation in here. Hopefully, it's not the last time when I'm gonna be a guest on your podcast. Really fun, really good, and definitely people should listen to it because you definitely have some light, good conversations around different topics. Um, well, I think there is still so much to cover. Really, we only, like, if you think about, discussed just the top of the iceberg in here. There is still so much more. I invite really people to come to the community hub and get engaged and find out about everything we have to offer in there. There are some other initiatives like Vim 100 Show, where you guys are discussing about your passionate um, projects, and you too were part of it, if I'm not wrong, last year in 2024. And there is a blog of the month. If you are passionate about writing, just come and just compete for that. That's a really fun thing to do. And just come and contribute and be part of the community. As Sophia mentioned, the Veeam User Groups, just get involved locally as well. If I think it's just great. Start with that. There are so many people that are speaking a different language than English, and sometimes it's just frightening, to just get into a forum where everything is in English and you not very comfortable with it. But that's why we have the local, the regional Veeam User Groups, where you can get involved and you can find the information in your own language. Get involved as well on the virtual events. Those are cool as well. We have those thematic groups, and if you are passionate about, I don't know, cybersecurity, Kubernetes, you can just go and learn in there. So many things really to still cover and talk about. And I definitely invite everyone to come and join the community hub and be part of it. Just out of curiosity, if not anything else, just figuring out what is this topic they are talking about. So yeah, that would be it.
Well, Sophia, I totally keep cheating you here. I keep prepping Maddie to talk and then going and anything else. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a softball too. This podcast will release right before VeeamON. And I think there's a booth or something there that some of us might be at. But what would you like to add in closing with our Veeam community?
Yeah, I mean, if this does come out before VeeamON, definitely visit us in the expo. We'll have a little community booth at the Veeam larger area with all the little Veeam booths. But check us out there. We'll have T-shirts, beach balls, pins, stickers, all the works that we always do. Having our Veeam experts here who are discussing how the community has impacted them. So some testimonials there. So definitely check us out. And I will just end with community is for all, whether you're a novice or an expert. So don't be shy, get in there, discuss. We'll be happy to welcome you.
I agree. I think it is all about mentorship too. That's been very important in my life, is the mentoring side of it, being a mentoree and being a mentor. And I think in the community program, I find that you get the balance of both. While you may mentor someone else is mentoring you. And it may not even be a formal role. Us dinosaurs always kind of had those formal. I think it's just through alliances and meals and just kind of the casual nature of things that these happen. Jonah, yourself, we'll let you pay some bills here since you have a Recovery People t-shirt on here. So go ahead and shameless plugs. Go right ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say I would not have had the opportunities in my career that I have had if not for the Veeam community, in particular the Vanguard program, the user groups, product strategy team, and these people on the call specifically are some of my favorite people at Veeam, because I think in a lot of ways the community gets undervalued by a lot of people. And like I said, I wouldn't be where I am today if not for the Veeam community and these programs.
I love that, Jonah. Thank you.
Whether you're a seasoned solutionist or just starting out, the Rebel Devs podcast is a must listen. So join us. Comment, share, and subscribe. Be part of the Rebel Devs.